Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to introduce a really gentle and playful way that I like to combine cards like Oracle, Tarot, and Unstable Unicorns. Unstable Unicorns is a game that I have actually never personally played. I just bought, I think it's probably like an expansion set. I don't know. So I got it and I've never played it. I just took out the cards and I thought they would be really fun to kind of play with and try to combine in various ways with Tarot and Oracle for really creative exploration. But in this process, I'm going to try to make it really simple. And I'm going to also be using elements and kind of the idea of taking inspiration from what is known as the first phase of drama therapy. And that comes from the 5-phase model of drama therapy, which was developed by drama therapist Renee Emuna. And so in the first phase, we're starting very distanced, very imaginative. We are playing and exploring, and kind of not really worrying too much about meaning and personal meaning. Certainly can, but the way that I'm gonna talk about this, or the way that I think about it, it's just really distance. It's not like about, you know, me personally. It's just kind of just playing, just getting in and playing, not getting really personal, not interpreting anything, just kind of playing around with story and character through a process of really creative play. And so the way that I'm going to use the Unstable Unicorn cards, so in the set that I got, there are the unicorn cards and there are what are called like magic cards. So keeping this really simple, I'm not going to use the magic cards right now. I'm just going to set them aside and just really focus on using the different types of unicorns in this process. And I'm also going to use, so first I'm going to use an oracle card. And I like to draw an oracle card first. And also when I'm working with cards in this way, I don't like to think about them too much until I have all of them pulled, because they all kind of work together in context. So the oracle card is the kind of setting the tone for the world, the story world, maybe the setting and the mood or the atmosphere that is going to kind of color the tarot card, and then certainly the unicorn cards. And I'll talk a little bit more about how they function in this within that world. Okay, so turtle. Okay, so slowness and protection. So I tend to mostly work with Oracle and Tarot cards largely through the lens of my card play process. And so what that means is that I'm not running to look at the guidebook as to like what this specifically means. I'm really just kind of going to draw from my own associations with the idea, maybe some element of the imagery or the idea of turtle or slowness or protection. And I'm going to associate, like, what does that bring up for me? So in general, like I said, I'm not going to get too, like, thinking much about that until I have the other cards, like, drawn. But basically the keywords here are, slowness, protection, turtle. I'm even thinking about that, origin story of, like, the turtle that carries, like, the world on its back. So there's, like, a lot of places that those associations can go. But this is basically kind of like describing the world. And there's no restriction. This is very imaginative and playful. So next is the tarot card. And the way that the tarot card is going to function in this practice is that it is like the main character or the protagonist of whatever scene or encounter that I'm going to explore, right? It's not me. It's just this protagonist. It's just a character, a fictional character. And I think about this like pulling from improv, right? So when I'm doing improv, I just get on the stage and I'm playing a character. I'm not thinking too deeply about it. I'm not specifically playing myself or a part of myself. I'm just, playing a fictional character. And, it doesn't even have to be human. I've played fairies, I've played witches. So it could all be very, very playful here in terms of like the character. So this is the character. And I'm pulling from the imagery, and maybe I'm not even really worried about like, or thinking particularly about what the, you know, quote unquote literal or actual meanings of this card is. It's just a really playful character, right? And so we could even think about a character. We could kind of like embody her, you know, she has her arms crossed, like the look on her face, the emotional energy that's kind of coming out of that. And so now I'm going to draw the 2 unicorn cards. And this is kind of where we're like starting to play. And the way that I think about these cards functioning is kind of like the supporting characters or chaos agents who are bringing like quirks and obstacles, maybe even tools or support, or just kind of like they're just kind of adding a little bit into the scene for this character to explore within in the world that is kind of set by the oracle card. And I really like using the unicorn cards more specifically instead of using something like another tarot card or an oracle card, because these are kind of like almost like modifiers or like clarifiers or something. They're just really, really sharp and focused. Whereas something like an oracle card or an oracle card or a tarot card has so much like meaning embedded within it. It's not as sharp and focused as something like one of these unicorn cards, and you'll see like what that looks like. And so they're just kind of adding some kind of playful energy. And in this particular version, I'm not thinking about them as inner parts of self or inner roles. They're literally just kind of like these external characters that this character might interact with. Okay, so when I pull these cards, I'm starting to think about like how they might talk or what their personality is, and also kind of like their role. So are they helpful? Are they, you know, like kind of trickster energy? And how do they interact like with this character, with this main character? Are they allies or friends or rivals? Just really kind of being very, very playful, right? And so now I'm going to think about how these all intertwine like together, right? So it's kind of like making a very short, playful scene, right? And again, not being super personal, not doing anything. It's just pure play right now. So the oracle card sets the tone. So I'm really tuning into these keywords right now, and the idea of like slowness and protection. And then the tarot card is kind of like leading the story, and the unicorns are kind of acting out their role. So that could look like playing around with a mini scene, describing how characters respond to each other, maybe like a couple lines of dialogue. If I wanted to draw something, I could draw it, or just kind of talking it out like almost like a storyteller in like this really, really mini scene. And like, what does this mean for me? No interpretation, just very playful and creative, and just really kind of fun. So like if I was going to play around with this, it's almost like, this person is kind of like, here we go again, kind of like Shabby the narwhal is, and I also like to kind of sometimes think about how I can play around with the description on the card. So this says, when this card enters your stable, you may search the deck for a downgrade card and add it to your hand, then shuffle the deck. So it's almost like the Shabby the narwhal has kind of like gotten themselves into like a kerfuffle again, and this character comes on and they're like, oh, Shabby, what'd you get into? And maybe this like basic unicorn. So this one, kind of I'm pulling from like the imagery of this card, and like they have this little quote, beards are like so hot. Right. And so we could even think about that as like a character, and like that's their motto. And so what kind of a character has a motto that's beards are so hot, right? And kind of playing around with what that character is like. And it's kind of maybe this unicorn like has a crush on this character, you know, maybe, you know, this character's relationship to Shabby is really one of like protection, right? And so kind of thinking about how that dynamic might play out. And then even thinking that, you know, maybe this unicorn's relationship to this character in the tarot card is one of protection. Like, you know, maybe this unicorn always sees this character like taking care of Shabby and wants to make sure that, you know, maybe she's getting her needs met, or that she's not overextending herself, or having, you know, good boundaries. And this character just has like this really kind of quirky personality. So just kind of like playing around with the scene and what comes up around it. That's like really playful, really distant, just as though these are like three separate characters. This is like the main character, and kind of playing around with like what's their relationship to the two unicorns, and how is that dynamic and this mini scene informed by the energy of the oracle card, right? And so maybe something comes up that's super interesting. That's like, oh, that's kind of an interesting dynamic or an interesting idea. Maybe it doesn't. It doesn't have to be. There's no need to be making connections. This is just kind of about like warming up imagination and learning how these different like card systems can like play together in a way. And we're not, again, getting into any kind of personal meaning. So this is really just kind of almost like a little mini warm-up. It's very creative. We're using symbolic characters. We're letting insight kind of emerge if it does. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. The purpose is really just like the play and playing around with different like relationships and dynamics. So the idea is that kind of tarot is giving us like the main character, the oracle is setting the overall like world or the scene or the energy, and the unicorn cards are giving us like characters, play, absurdity, chaos, support systems, and it's just really kind of playful. And that's kind of all it is. So I hope you like this video. If you liked it, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I will absolutely be doing a lot more videos using all the fun creative systems and processes for self-exploration, imagination, and creativity.